Aaron Swartz, born in 1986, died mysteriously of what was said to be suicide in 2013, was a revolutionary American programmer, entrepreneur, and internet activist. Swartz was one of the people who developed the feed format RSS and the organization Creative Commons. Swartz has also been identified as one of the driving forces behind the development of the social news site, Reddit. Some even believe that Swartz should be classified as one of the founders of Reddit, due to how much he influenced the platform, even though he joined 6 months after the site was first launched. Aaron Swartz did what he could to increase that awareness among users on the internet, and worked with various activist activities online. In 2009, he co-launched the Progressive Change Campaign Committee, where his involvement was very much personal and focused mainly on learning about online activism. Swartz was arrested by the police in 2011, after a break-in at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT. Swartz allegedly connected a computer to the MIT network in an unlocked storage room, and programmed it to systematically download academic articles from JSTOR. Federal prosecutors, led by Carmen Ortiz, charged Swartz 2 years later with 2 counts of wire fraud, and 11 violations of the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. Prosecutors sought a $1 million fine, and 35 years in prison for Swartz, who declined a plea deal offer that would have seen him serve only 6 months in federal prison. Just 2 days after clearly rejecting the offer, Swartz was found dead in his Brooklyn apartment. Where it all started, Aaron Swartz was born in Highland Park, north of Chicago, in a Jewish family, where he lived with his parents and 2 younger brothers. Swartz's father was also active in the technology industry, and co-founded the software company Mark Williams Company. At an early age, Swartz began to immerse himself in computers, and gathered knowledge about the internet, programming, and the culture of the new online world. At the age of 12, he created the website The Info Network, which functioned as a user-generated encyclopedia. For this, Swartz received the Ars Digita Award, an award given to people who create usable, educational, and collaborative websites. This further led to Swartz receiving his first public recognition as a significant talent in coding. Swartz soon became a member of the working group that wrote the first codes for the RSS feed. By then, he was only 14 years old. In 2005, Swartz turned 19 and entered Stanford, where he started working on a startup called Infogami, which was a content management system designed to create interesting and useful websites. Swartz dropped out of Stanford after his freshman year and instead focused on working full-time on Infogami. However, Infogami failed to get enough funding, and Swartz was offered to merge the platform with Reddit. The merger took place in November 2005, which became the creation of the company Not a Bug, and also gave Swartz his title as co-founder of Reddit. In 2006, Not a Bug was acquired by Condé Nast Publications, the owner of Wired magazine. Swartz moved to San Francisco to continue his work at Reddit, with Wired as owner. Office life, on the other hand, was not Swartz's cup of tea, and eventually, he was asked to resign from the company. Aaron Swartz continued to work on making information available to the world, and in 2008 he founded the site Watchdog.net, a platform collecting data on politicians. During that year, Swartz also downloaded 2.7 million federal court documents, stored in the Public Access to Court Electronic Records database, managed by the Administrative Office of the United States Courts. The FBI ultimately decided not to press charges against Swartz, despite the fact that he had accessed the documents without paying what the company charged for access of certain information. At the end of the day, the documents were indeed public information after all. Wanting to learn more about effective activism online, Aaron Swartz decided to help with the Progressive Change Campaign Committee. He wrote in his blog the following: "I spend my days experimenting with new ways to get progressive policies passed and progressive politicians elected." Swartz led the first activism event of his career with the Progressive Change Campaign Committee, delivering thousands of so-called Honor Kennedy signatures to legislators, asking them to fulfill former Senator Ted Kennedy's last wish by appointing a senator to vote for a health care reform. In 2010, Swartz co-founded Demand Progress, a political group that organizes people online to contact and influence key community leaders to make decisions that benefit civil liberties. Swartz was also involved in the campaign to prevent the Stop Online Piracy Act of 2012 from passing, the bill aimed at combating copyright infringement on the Internet, which was criticized on the grounds that it would make it easier for the U.S. government to shut down websites. The bill would mean that internet providers would have an incredibly high burden of responsibility for what and who shared information on different websites, and at the same time be at risk of being responsible for the content of all websites that their customers released. The bill was dropped, and Swartz was the keynote speaker at the victory event held afterward. According to federal and state authorities, Aaron Swartz used the JSTOR database to download academic articles through the MIT computer network for several weeks, in late 2010 and early 2011. Authorities allege that Swartz downloaded the documents via a laptop connected to a network switch in a storage inside MIT premises. When staff discovered the computer inside the warehouse, a video camera was placed in the room to record the perpetrator. They left the computer untouched, and as soon as they had identified Swartz on the recorded material, they stopped all recording. Instead of pursuing a civil lawsuit against Swartz, JSTOR offered Swartz a settlement in June 2011, in which he handed over the downloaded data. On July 30, JSTOR released directed documents used in evidence against Swartz. Aaron Swartz was arrested on the night of January 6, 2011, on the Harvard campus by Mo Police and a Secret Service agent. He was arraigned in Cambridge District Court and charged with breaking and entering with intent to commit a felony. Almost 6 months later, on July 11, 2011, Swartz was indicted by a federal grand jury for wire fraud, computer fraud, unlawfully obtaining information from a protected computer, and damaging a protected computer. After another few months, on November 17, 2011, Swartz was again indicted by a Middlesex County Superior Court grand jury on charges of burglary and trespassing with intent, felony theft, and unauthorized access to a computer network. A month later, on December 16, state prosecutors announced that the 2 original analyses were dropped, and the November 17 indictment was dropped on March 8, 2012. On September 12, 2012, federal prosecutors filed a reimbursed indictment and had added 9 more felony counts, resulting in Swartz being sentenced to 50 years in prison and a $1 million fine. Swartz was offered a deal to serve 6 months in prison if he pleaded guilty to 13 federal felonies, which he and his lead attorney rejected, opting instead for a trial where authorities would be forced to justify their pursuit of Swartz. On January 11, 2013, only days after Swartz had officially rejected the deal, his girlfriend found him dead in his apartment in New York. A spokeswoman for the New York Medical Examiner reported that he had hanged himself. However, no suicide note or any other form of farewell letter from Swartz was found at the scene. The charges against Swartz were dropped after his death. A few days before the funeral, Lawrence Lessing came out and questioned the prosecutors who pursued Swartz, asking why it was necessary to paint out Aaron Swartz as a criminal, when his main drive only ever had been to release official information to the public for free. Lessing believes that Swartz could have revolutionized both American and worldwide politics if he had not been driven to his death. Robert Swartz, Aaron's father, spoke at his son's funeral on January 15, 2013, and stated the following: Aaron was killed by the government, and the MIT betrayed all of its founding principles.